Shit is crazy for young men and ladies. Situation shaky. Babies having babies. Trife in this matrix. It's nothing nice. True statement. But life's what you make it. Shit is crazy for young men and ladies. Situation shaky. Babies having babies. Trife in this matrix. It's nothing nice. True statement. But life's what you make it. A young boy who can't even reach the cabinets. His teenage mom is in the room having it. She drowns out his crying, turns the stereo up. The neighbor gave her some bucks to pick cereal up. Instead, she got a couple Lucy's and a gossip mag.
Welcome once again to another episode of Another Mediocre Podcast. I'm your host, Lou Capetta. You are currently listening to the sounds of New Jersey hip-hop recording artist and producer extraordinaire in Richmond. That's his song Perspective. This week, comedian Glen Tickle stops by and talks about his best-selling comedy album from last year and what he has in store in the future. And we'll even talk a little Star Wars Last Jedi. Now, this week, once again, another Mediocre Podcast is being brought to you by New Jersey Championship Baseball League. If you're ready to give up the old man softball and get back on the field to play hardball, these are the guys that you want to talk to. It's a new league starting up. I know the guys who run it personally. They're good guys. They're going to watch out for you. They're loyal. And most of all, they're professional. And you're going to go, you're going to play some baseball, and you're going to have fun. And these guys are going to help you do it. In the Bergen County area, if you're willing to play baseball in northern New Jersey, mostly in Bergen County, hit these guys up. The number is 201-290-0829. You can also find them on Facebook, New Jersey Championship Baseball. Enjoy this week's episode. Welcome once again to another episode of Another Mediocre Podcast. The podcast is mediocre because I'm pretty mediocre and I don't like to do too much work. I like to set the bar high enough that I can still get over it. But my guests are not mediocre, and today I have former preschool science teacher, self-proclaimed weird dad, and the guy who once got suspended from Facebook for threatening to blow up the sun. You may know him best for his extremely funny stand-up comedy that includes 2016's best-selling album, Yes Really. He is Glen Tickle.
Hello there.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Now, for everybody, in case you haven't listened to his album or seen his stand-up, let everybody, my 6 listeners out there really want to know, like, Glen Tickle, that is not your stage name. That is a legit name.
It is my very real, very unfortunate actual name.
I mean, I don't think it's that unfortunate. I mean, you're a stand-up comedian. I mean, it works for you. I mean, it's not like you're, Glenn, construction worker. You know what I mean?
But I talk about it on the album, but like I have family members. Like, we're not all comedians. Like, I could have gotten a real job,
right?
And just I could have been Glen Tickle construction worker. I'm lazy and I don't know how to build things.
And trust me, I'm in construction and I'm lazy and I don't know how to build things. That's overrated. Like, you can still be a construction worker, trust me. But you were saying in your
I don't want to be.
Yeah, I don't blame you. In your album though, like, your dad was a police officer. Yeah. He was Officer Tickle, and the funniest thing, man, like you said, is that you didn't know if that was worse for your dad or for the people, the criminals that your dad was putting away.
Yeah, because it's got to be embarrassing, right? Like, I'm used to people making fun of my name. Like, it's happened my entire life. But to be, like, if you get busted by the guy with the dumb name, then that's got to be more embarrassing, I think.
I don't know. I have to, like, I can't believe that nobody ever thought of making, or even you thought of making that like a sitcom, like Officer Tickle, right? That would be like a good.
See, I keep trying to get my dad to be the mayor of my town, and he refuses. But I would love Mayor Tickle.
And
I never understood why he always turned it down. But now, like, the thought of me doing it, I was like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't sound fun at all. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, politics. Before you know it, you end up on Trump's Twitter feed. Like, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So now, I've seen you before. I mean, years and years ago. You've always been very funny.
Thank you.
How long you been doing your stand-up routine, or when did it start, or how did you start?
Well, I used to work with your wife. I was waiting tables at a chain restaurant that I hated.
Which she still works at, by the way, and my two daughters work at.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I knew your wife was still there. I didn't know your children worked there as well. Yeah, I mean, there's people. I don't want it to sound like I'm crapping on the job itself, because like I know people who wait tables and tend bar who really love it. I just wasn't one of them.
Yeah, I think you're exaggerating that. I don't think anybody really does. Anybody really love that?
There was a woman who worked there who genuinely seemed to enjoy like interacting with that many people and like kind of feeling helpful, I guess, in bringing them stuff. And I never understood that. But I mean, people get different things from different jobs. Like my brother works on the road crew, and he likes that he gets to work outside, which is that's the bottom of the list of things that I would want in a job, is to have to be
right, especially in the summer.
Like even if I get asked to do a show somewhere and it's outdoors, I'm like, I mean, I'll do it, but we can move this somewhere, right? Like,
right.
Especially because
somewhere, everything
for kid activity.
Well, how long ago did you? So this is. I mean, you've been doing stand up what? Probably 10 years at least now.
I started in 2009.
Okay.
My timeline's fuzzy. My memory's bad, so I don't remember. It was around the time I left my waiter job and started substitute teaching, because I know I definitely did shows while I was subbing, because that was the worst, because you have to wake up real early. So I'd be out late doing a show the night before, and then have to get up at 6 or whatever to go deal with other people's kids.
I used to want to be a teacher, and then my kids started to get older and become teenagers and stuff, and then I was just like, this sucks. Pardon my language, but I mean,
I was gonna ask if I could swear, because I stopped myself.
Oh no, I didn't know. I mean, I don't really hear you swear that much in your comedy. I dropped the F-bomb a million. Like, you can say whatever you want. Like, look, a motherfucker. Yeah. Like, there you go.
I mean, I say it. I swear conversationally. Like, I'm a adult, but
right.
I do tend to work clean, only because like most of my material is about my daughter, or I used to do a lot of jokes about substitute teaching. Like the stuff I talk about on stage feels weird to me to be like very vulgar and then try to tell a cute story about my daughter. Like, it doesn't seem to go together.
Right. It definitely works for you, man. I honestly, I mean, I'm like, consider myself like wise ass funny, but I drop a million F-bombs. I think it's a lot more difficult, more difficult to be funny without being vulgar, and it really, really shows, you know, your skill level, I think, personally.
Well, I think it's also a lot of the shows that I get asked to do, I get asked to work clean. Like, I do a lot of college shows. I did a corporate show last night where they told us we had to work clean, and it's just easier because most of the shows that pay the most, especially when you're starting out as a comedian, you get asked to work clean. So it makes sense to be able to do it. And since I was doing all these college shows and things where I get asked to work clean, like, well, I might as well just focus on that, because it's easier to just write material that I can do at these shows than to write basically two acts. Like, I don't want to have an act that I do at bars and then an act that I do at colleges, because that's twice as much work for me. And as I mentioned before, I'm very lazy. That's why I'm a stand-up comedian. And especially because, like I said, so much of my material is about my daughter, or family stuff where it's somebody asked me after a college show like how I write jokes, and I told them kind of jokingly, but it's pretty true. At this point, I just kind of wait for my daughter to do something funny and then figure out how to best structure it as a story.
Now your daughter's young, right?
Yeah, she's 4.
Yeah, so that whole not cursing when you're talking about stories about your kids is going to change when they get about 14. Trust me. Then you're not going to have any stories that you can tell that are clean. Unfortunately,
well, that's the other thing is I have this idea in my mind that someday my daughter will listen to my comedy, so I don't want to do anything that I feel like she would be upset about or disappointed by. Not even just specifically stories about her, like
right.
And I think, I mean, it's true of any comedian or musician or artist or whatever. Like, you look back on stuff you did 10 years ago as any kind of artist, and you're embarrassed by it because you've gotten better in the last however long that's been. Mm-hmm. There's a great Ira Glass quote, the host of This American Life. He talks about how people get into wanting to create because they have taste. And the things that they tend to create will disappoint them because it's not as good as they want it to be. But in making it, you get better. So that's why you look back at stuff that you've made, and you're not necessarily ashamed of it, but it bothers you. Like I like watching myself because I'm a narcissist. But I was cleaning my office the other day, and I found a DVD of a set I did at a club in New York that's not even there anymore from like 8 years ago, and I'm like, I'm not watching that. Like, there's no way.
Right.
That. But if I had a video of a set I did last night, I would watch that.
Yeah, well, that when I listen into your album and stuff, I really like you fine tune everything. I mean, it was really, really. It was great, man. It was really.
Thank you.
Just. I like I said, I remember seeing you years ago early on, and I could tell the difference. You sound like you've been a professional comedian for a long time. I mean, it's really, you could tell that you really put the work in and stuff. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's I'm kind of at a point now where if I meet people who are just starting out in comedy, like I get asked for advice in comedy kind of regularly now, mm-hmm. and that's. Very little of my advice is actually about comedy. It's mostly just like, I don't know, just show up on time. Like, maybe dress a little nice. Yeah. Don't scream at the bartender at the show you're doing. Like, just be a normal person.
Don't be a douche.
The best advice I could give is, if anybody's considering doing comedy, is to focus on being a person that somebody would want to spend 3 hours in a car with. Because a lot of the first jobs you get are you're opening for somebody, or like sometimes you're just literally driving another comedian to a show for $50 or whatever. Right. Where if I just did a show at a college in Connecticut, which is like 3.5 hours from my house. It's kind of a long drive, so I wanted to bring somebody just to have in the car, and it makes sense to bring a comedian because then I can get them to do a few minutes at the top of the show, and then they're mm-hmm. excited to be there, and they're basically just doing me a favor, but then they don't feel like it because they're getting something out of it too. Right. But if I'm trying to think of who I would bring, I would much rather bring somebody that would be good to be in the car with that long than like. I'm not going to bring somebody who's a terrible comedian, but I'd rather bring, a B- comedian right. To the show if they're fun to hang out with, rather than bring the funniest person I know, but they're a huge jerk. I'm like, I don't want to ride in a car that long with you.
Yeah, nobody wants to ride in a car with a jerk.
No.
So there you go. All you people that want to be stand-up comedians, Glen Tickle's first word of advice is don't be a douche.
Yeah, just be cool. I get
yeah, just be cool, man. You could actually use that and get pretty far in life, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
I feel like it applies to other things too. Like if you want to be, it's just that there's a lot of travel involved in comedy. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I would say is the actual job part of what I do. Standing in one spot and talking about myself for an hour, like, that's not hard. It's one of my favorite things to do. If I get asked to do a show, my only real consideration is the travel. Like, if I get asked to do a show 10 minutes from my house for $50, I'm happy to do it. But if I get asked to do a show like in Pittsburgh for $50, no, because I wouldn't drive to Pittsburgh just to pick up $50. Like, that's my benchmark for saying yes or no, is would I drive to that place to pick up that amount of money?
Now, what's the furthest you've ever traveled to do a show?
I was on a research trip with a friend a few years ago where we were touring whiskey distilleries for a book he was writing. Mm-hmm. And I did like some open mics while we were driving around, but I didn't really travel for that purpose. Mm-hmm. I think the farthest would be West Virginia that I traveled to just for a show. Oh no, Chicago is farther than West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's What was the first time that you did a show? Because like you said, you started out open mics and stuff like that. Yeah. When was the first time that you did what was your first paid gig? And then when was the first time that you really were like, holy shit, man, like this is pretty cool, like where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like,
the first time I did an open mic, I was in college. I was interning at a production house in Midtown, and I would walk by a comedy club every day when I was commuting, because it was right in between the Port Authority bus terminal and my office. And they had an open mic. I think I was in there like Wednesdays and Thursdays or something. The one night that I was there every week, they did an open mic. So I was like, oh, I'm funny. I'm in school for film. I make funny videos. I'll just do that. But I didn't write anything or prepare because I didn't understand what you were supposed to, because I was a dumb idiot 19-year-old.
Right.
So I did that, and it went horribly. And I don't like things that I'm not good at. So I was like, oh, all right, I guess I don't have to do that again. But then I graduated. I went to school for film. I graduated, and I didn't have a camera anymore because it was the schools. Mm-hmm. And I needed an outlet, and then I started seeing open mic signs and stuff around, and then figured I should try again, but actually prepare. So I did that. Like, I wrote a 5-minute set and then did it, and it went better than the one I did in college. Like, it was around the time I stopped being a waiter and started being a substitute teacher, but I don't remember exactly
right
when the switch happened. First paid gig, I don't remember. I remember the first time I got asked to do a show that wasn't an open mic. But I specifically remember it was my friend Jason Brown asked me to do it, and he's like, well, I can't pay you, but there will be free hot dogs.
Oh, that's
so.
I'd do that right now. I'm not even that funny. I would do anything for free hot dogs.
But that was just the first time somebody offered me anything to tell jokes, even though I don't even eat now. I think I was still at the time, but I never liked hot dogs. So, but I was just happy to do the show.
So, do you think that your first experience being a bad experience, do you think that helped you at all? I mean, I guess you're more prepared when you go on stage and stuff like that.
I think about it a lot because I think it's common for anybody to be like, oh, like I wish I could have started this thing that I like doing sooner. Mm-hmm. Like, if that went well, I think I would have kept doing it. But when I especially comics in New York, like when I go in, there's the comics like in their first year or two, like you kind of tend to talk about all the same stuff because you're 20 and you don't have any real point of reference for the world for things that make you interesting. Like, they'll talk like Seinfeld stuff, like observational things, like, oh, like this is a thing we all understand, or they'll talk about dating or Tinder, but what that's like when you're 20, and other 20-year-olds relate to it, but not everybody else. So I think since I wasn't doing comedy until I was 25, 26, it was October 2009. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 26. So I was already married for a while at that point. So I wasn't coming into it as like another 19-year-old white guy comedian.
Right.
So I not wanting to do bad. Like I didn't want to bomb again. So I was like, I have to prepare. I need to put the work in. Like I learned pretty quick that I couldn't just go up and wing it and have it go well.
Right.
And even now, like it sounds like I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without sounding like I'm an egomaniac, but like I don't bomb. I mean, I have shows that don't go well, but like this idea that in people's heads that like you go up and nothing works and the audience hates you and you're just dying, that doesn't happen very frequently. I don't think it happens frequently to anybody. Like I'm not saying it doesn't happen to me because I'm so great. I just think most of the time the audience does not care. They're only sort of half listening. So they might stop paying attention to you, but like to really bomb and like have the audience turn on you and just that it happens rarely to anybody.
Yeah, you got to basically be the Kramer from Seinfeld.
Yeah, and it feels terrible when it happens. Like when you're really blowing it, it's not a good feeling. So I don't want that to happen. So I try really hard to keep it like I write stuff out and I have jokes that I know like tend to work every time. So if to win people over, like I'll use those, and I don't know. It takes effort to not bomb, and bombing feels terrible. So I would rather put in a little extra work to not eat it on stage than.
Right.
I know guys who it doesn't bother them at all. Like they'll go do terrible and it doesn't faze them. Cause it's not, I forget who said it, but they said bombing is the worst thing that can happen to you on stage, but it's not that bad. Like it feels terrible, but you don't die. No one's going to remember it. Like you said, unless you're Kramer from Seinfeld and
right.
And you go on a racist tirade and somebody films it, and then most of the time audiences aren't really paying attention.
Right.
Like especially like I do a lot of showcases, or like I'll be at an open mic. I forget the guy's name, but there's a regular show in Allentown, Pennsylvania at the Alternative Gallery on Sunday nights called Social Medium that I do a lot. And it's usually very fun. Sometimes there's not a big audience, and sometimes there's literally almost nobody. So there was one night, there was 4 people, and they were all other performers in the room. And this guy goes up and he does 10 minutes of jokes, and he's really beating himself up because he's like, I bombed. Like nobody's laughing at anything. I'm like, there's 4 other people.
There's nobody here to laugh.
How did you think that was going to, like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, he didn't do that bad. Like, he wasn't great, but you can't bomb for 4 people because there shouldn't be a show at that point. Like, the fact that anything's happening, you just kind of have to understand your situation.
Right.
And, you go up and I guess you're just looking to see if people are kind of nodding with you. It takes like a decent sized audience for comedy to really go well. Because then if people think they're going to get singled out, they tend to not laugh. But if you're one of 200 people in a theater, then, nobody's paying attention to you. So then people kind of let loose a little bit.
So now you've recorded your album. It came out last year. That was a show at Steel Stacks?
Yes.
Yeah. So anybody who's listening doesn't know, Steel Stacks is over where by the Sands Casino, correct? That's over Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yes, the official name is the Arts Quest Center at Steel Stacks. It's where Bethlehem Steel used to be.
Yep.
And some of the Bethlehem Steel buildings are still up because People love nostalgia, and they refuse to tear down old trash buildings. The venue's really nice. Parking is terrible, and it drives me crazy because parking would be so much better if they just knocked down one of these trash. But like, there's no reason to keep it up. It's falling apart. Tear it down and put it in a parking lot. I don't care what Carly Simon says.
Yeah, I was just gonna go. I was just gonna go there. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call those old Bethlehem Steel buildings paradise, but
I mean, keep one, sure. Like. Yeah. The steel stacks themselves look nice. They're all lit up, but you don't need. They're just hanging on to buildings for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah,
I think.
You need the old blast furnace there, right?
Yeah, like there's handicap parking in the parking lot, but it's still, 400 yards away from the building. Mm-hmm. Like it's. I had a guest on. I used to host a talk show there, and I had a guest who used a motorized wheelchair, and she wasn't furious, but she's like, this is like the handicap parking situation here is a joke. Like, right. I think they have valets now, but they didn't at the time. Mm-hmm. But you can't expect everybody to valet park their car. Get it together, Steel Stacks Parking. I like everything else about that venue. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining too much. I don't. Although the food service there got worse over the years too.
So you don't? I've seen things about your talk show. You don't do that anymore over there, or you're?
No. When they first opened that building, they were still trying to get an idea of like what kind of programming outside of music, because music's their main thing for sure. So they were trying to like branch out and do other kinds of programming. My friend Ryan Hill runs the comedy and cinema stuff over there. So I pitched it to him, and it was basically, we just did, a Tonight Show format style show, just live on stage and not on TV. But they didn't tell anyone that it was happening ever. Like, we were the last thing going on there on Sunday nights, like after the last other event ended, an hour would go by and then our show would start. They didn't tell anybody it was happening. And then we would get like, 20 or 30 people out, but they'd be like, there's only 20 or 30 people here, and they're all people that you're bringing. I'm like, right, because you don't, like, no one knows this is happening.
Right.
It was much more of an uphill fight for comedy there when it first opened, but now it's a much bigger part of what they do, and which is great because I love comedy, obviously. But yeah, they have comedy shows there regularly. They do different kinds of it's not like just stand-up or just improv. They do a lot of different kind of like sketch shows or weird game shows,
right,
or shows with weird themes. And I started doing another show there that's, as of last month, a recurring monthly show on the third Thursday of every month called Nerd Night, where it's sort of like TED Talks where people come in and give little presentations on It's not as serious. Like I found out about it. I got asked to do, there's Nerd Night events in cities all over the world, and I got asked to do one in Philly last year, and I had a lot of fun with it. And then it seemed like a thing that I would work really well at Steel Stack. So same thing. I pitched it to Ryan, reached out to the guys who run the Nerd Night brand to see if I could. I'm basically like a franchisee of the Nerd Night name, where I just do it in Bethlehem. But they have them all over, and they're always a little different. Like the main thing is these talks, but then people incorporate trivia or other kind of performances. I usually book a stand-up to go in between two of the speakers. But it's not, the talks are usually a lot less serious than TED Talks. Like I did one about the Monster Mash at the last one, and the cultural impact that it had. Yeah.
That sounds funny. The cultural impact of the Monster Mash. That's
yeah, because I found out it's a whole album. It's not just one song.
Is it really?
Yeah. They did a full album of monster songs, and none of them caught on as well as the Monster Mash. There was one in the 80s where Bobby Pickett, the guy who did it, he did a rap version.
I can't see that. Why that?
like a Monster Mash parody about climate change during the Bush administration. It was...
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, it was a deep rabbit hole I fell down, and it was just really interesting. And I love that there's places like Nerd Night where I can be like, oh, who's going to let me talk about the Monster Mash for 20 minutes into a microphone while other people listen?
Yeah, that's... I'm speechless about that. That's amazing. I got to be honest. That's really fucking clever, man.
Yeah, and there were a lot. There's weird covers of it. Like the Beach Boys did a cover. It was apparently Mike Love's favorite song. Because one of the other, I don't know the Beach Boys well enough to know all their names, but they address him. But one of the other Beach Boys intros the song as he's like, "We're gonna play a song for you guys. It's Mike's favorite song. Here's the Monster Mash." And like the rest of the band so clearly doesn't want to be playing the Monster Mash.
Right.
But he's like making faces and really he's so into it. And the rest of the guys are just like rolling their eyes in the background. It's one of the best. If you look up the Beach Boys cover of Monster Mash on YouTube, it's one of the best things.
I gotta do that. That's funny because like they seem to really enjoy that time they were on Full House. So I can't see like why they wouldn't want to sing the Monster Mash, but whatever, man.
The Misfits did it. There were a bunch.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So Steel Stacks. Getting back to your comedy album. We just talked about Steel Stacks. They should use this as like in their advertising or training video. We just the parking sucks, but you can learn about the Monster Mash.
Steel Stacks is great. I know I did complain about the parking, but it's only because that's like the worst thing. Everything else is great. Like they bring in a lot of great acts. They treat their acts really well. Like I'm very happy. Anytime I do a show, like I bring in guests to do these talks at Nerd Night, and I'm always like very proud of the venue that I'm bringing people to. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm booking, a show at some shitty bar somewhere,
right?
Where people are worried they're going to get knifed or what. Like it's a really nice venue that I'm always kind of proud to show off anytime I get to do something there.
Mm. So was it that like an easy choice for you to record your album? And first of all, like tell me what like goes into recording a comedy album.
Sure.
The whole process, like, did you purposely choose Steel Stacks, or was it just easiest for you? And like, tell us a story about the college kid. There was high school kids there, or
I chose Steel Stacks definitely on purpose. I wrote. I'll still explain it, but I'll just mention I wrote a big long post about this on my site, The Humor Weekly, where I just like explain in detail how I did my comedy album. So I'm just mentioning in case anybody's interested. Like there's a more detailed version of my answer out there.
The Humor Weekly.
Yeah, it's WEALY.
Nice, I get it. I like it. I'll definitely be checking that out.
I did Steel Stacks specifically because it's the largest venue that I knew I could fill.
Okay.
It's the largest venue I knew I could fill. Because when you're recording, like you want a good audience, so it sounds nice when you record it. But I started doing these college shows, and I was talking to a booker at a school, and he's like, "Well, send us the hour that you would do." And I didn't have an hour recording. Like I knew I had an hour of material, and I'd done shows where I was headlining for an hour before, so I knew I could do it. I just didn't have like a good recording to send him. I'm like, oh, well, if that's how this works, like if college bookers are going to keep asking for me for this, I should make one. I should record a show and send it. But if I'm going to do that, I might as well, go all out and do an album of it. Especially because at that point I've been doing comedy for about 8 years. So some of the jokes, like I used to be a substitute teacher, and a lot of the jokes on the album are about that, but I haven't been a substitute teacher in like 5 years, so I don't particularly want to keep talking about it. But I like those jokes. Like I tried real hard to make them good, and they work. So I don't want to just stop telling them. But if I make an album, then I make a thing out of them, and then those jokes still exist somewhere, but I don't have to keep doing them on stage. So I decided I would record it, and then I headline a show there roughly once a year, depending on their schedule and my schedule. So I was talking to Ryan Hill over there, and he asked if I could headline a show, and he asked me on, I forget, May something of 2016 when we recorded. Right. He asked me if I could do a show. Typically, those shows, the headliner only does a half hour, 40 minutes. So I asked him, I'm like, I'm happy to do it, but can I do an hour and record it? And he was super on board, very helpful and supportive. So I brought my friend Jesse Gimbel, who runs a recording studio outside of Philly. He came up and did the actual recording and all the mixing and stuff. Right. And we started promoting it as an album recording, not just a show. And originally the plan was, because there's a lot of different rooms at Steel Stacks where events can happen. There's two movie theaters. One has 100 seats, one has 200 seats. The original plan was I would do two shows in the 100-seat theater. Because then, if you're recording it, if something happens, if, you have a bad show, you want that backup. But then a few days after tickets went on sale, somebody bought 80 tickets for a 100-seat theater, and we didn't know what it was. My original thought was that my dad did it. Like, my dad bought a bunch of tickets to, like, give to people because the stereotype with comedy is that, like, we all have terrible families, but my family is very supportive. In particular, my dad, like, probably more than anybody else.
Right.
But it wasn't him. It was this high school that was going. They had like a weekend. It was their senior trip, basically. Like, it was. I think it's a school in the Bronx, and they were coming out. They were going to go to Dorney and do other stuff in the area. And they bought 80 tickets to my show. So there were only 20 seats left, and it was the earlier show, and we recorded on a Thursday. So we figured more people would go to the early show than the late show. But then they sold the other 20 seats. But then that school came back and they're like, hey, we need 100 actually. So that's all of the seats in the theater. And this is a great problem to have. Like, people buy tickets is never a problem. It's just then you have to figure out the best way to do it. So we moved it to the larger theater. But because we were recording it, we couldn't do one show in the big theater and one show in the little, like, and I didn't think I could fill the big theater twice. Like, I think when the original plan was to do two shows in a 100-seat theater, I'm like, it'll be at least half full each time. Like, I wasn't expecting two sold out shows, but like two pretty well sold shows.
Right.
But then it got moved to the Red, which is the bigger one, and it didn't make sense to record one show with 200 people and then another show with like probably at most 50. Right. So we ended up only doing one show, but that's why there were 100.
So you nailed that recording on one show?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really, really good. Yeah, that's clutch. You're like the Michael Jordan of comedy albums. I
mean, I'm glad it went well because it's, especially because it's, I mean, I don't live in Bethlehem. I live in New Jersey, but I do a lot of shows there. So like, I knew a lot of the people in the audience. So everyone's kind of on, especially when you go to like an album recording or anything like that, they prep the audience. Most of the people who are there because they want to be there and be supportive. Mm-hmm. So the show was probably going to go well, but in case something happened with the recording or anything, you'd rather have two shows than one just to have a backup, but didn't work out that way.
How did you decide to do a comedy album? Because I know comedy albums have been around for a long, long time, and they used to be really, really big, but I don't necessarily see as many of them as I used to. Is that accurate, or?
I don't know. I don't have like the hard numbers of how many comedy albums get put out. every year. But I do know, like, in general, album sales across the industry are down. Like, just because there's so many places you can stream them that you're already paying for. People will buy an album if it's an artist they want to support, but not, like, you used to buy a CD because you wanted to hear the songs. Now there's, probably half a dozen things. You can get it if you have a Amazon membership. You can just listen to stuff for free, or you're paying for Spotify or Apple Music or any of them. So definitely a lot more people stream things than buy them anymore. I mean, the fact that my album made it to Billboard at all was like proof that people aren't buying that many copy albums anymore. Because if they were, yeah, I genuinely thought it was a prank.
Really?
I got an email because I put my album out through Bandcamp, which is like a site that a lot of indie bands and comedians use, and it's great, and I highly recommend it. But there's a contact thing on there, so you don't have to just give out your regular email address to random people. So basically, they can fill this out and send you an email, and it goes to your email. It shows up as from Bandcamp, and then it says whatever they put in the sender field. And it was, I got back late. I forget. I was out. I went on a date with my wife, and we got home late. And at like midnight, I get an email. And it says it's from a guy who works at Billboard, and that the album was going to chart on Monday, so he needed to verify the information, like, title, like make sure my name is spelled correctly and all that. But it came in the middle of the night from this thing that anyone can fill out. And I have this ongoing bit with a friend of mine where we decided to be each other's nemesis. And just like, and that's exactly the kind of thing, like, it's a bit like we're friends, but it's been going on so long that a lot of people forget that it's not real. Right. But that is the kind of, like, that's right solidly in the middle of the spectrum of the kind of things that we do for this joke. That's awesome. If you get an email at, midnight that sounds like really great news from a thing anyone can fill out, I'm like, there's no way this is real. Yeah. But I wrote the guy back because he included his email address, so I emailed that address and said, like, hey, I don't believe you, but I got this email that said my album's charting on Billboard, which can't be a thing. He's like, no, I can't tell you where, but it'll be on there. And sure enough, it was.
It's pretty high, right? Debuted at like 13 or something like that.
It was 13, but I think the comedy chart is short. Okay. It's only like 20 or 25, I think. I forget the exact number, but the fact that it was on there at all was bananas to me.
How high did it reach?
Just 13. It hit the 1 week, because the way pre-orders work. Mm-hmm. If you do like a pre-order campaign, all those sales and plays and stuff count on the release day. Okay. So you're basically compressing a month's worth of sales and streaming and stuff into a day, so that it looks great that first week and then it falls off.
Yeah, I think I found out about that. I think I read it in one of the newspapers. I mean. Was it maybe the Morning Call? It might have been in the Morning Call. I don't know.
I did an interview with the Express Times.
That's what it was, the Express Times. I
think the Morning Call ran a thing about the album recording, but not any. They didn't do like an interview with it. I think they just included it as a thing that was happening in the area. But yeah, I did an interview with the Express Times that I'm blanking on the reporter's name, but he was very nice, and I think he reached out after he saw me do another show at Steel Stacks where I opened for my friend John Hodgman. So
now what What'd you do after the album hit? You still did your stand-up and stuff. It's not like bands. Did you like tour the exact same act, or did you tailor the act depending on where you
I did a college tour right when it came out, and it was mostly the same. Which is one of the benefits of not being a famous comedian and just being a working one, is that it doesn't matter that I put an album. Like, people who are coming to my shows, they probably haven't, a lot of time, haven't heard of me at all. They're just going to see the idea of comedy. So it's not like if I do a joke that was on the album, they're going to be like, I heard this. This is like, I did a corporate show last night, probably 10 miles away from Steel Stacks, where I recorded the album, and just did the first 15 minutes of the album. Like, 'cause none of them had seen me before, and I know that it works. So, but if you're a celebrity, I'm trying to think of the name of a comedian who is not, who didn't just get in trouble for weird sex.
Louis C.K.
But that now every name I can think of would be like, no, they did a bad thing.
That's what I was gonna say before when you were talking about not cursing. I was like, oh yeah, just like Bill Cosby without all the rape. But I thought that might be in poor taste.
Well, that's the thing, is I'll do shows where I will swear just conversationally. Like I this happened at a club in New York where I did a show, and I know I swore because I was making a tape to submit to a thing that was I did it specifically because the thing I was submitting for seemed like a thing that they would want someone to swear. I can't think of a good way to explain this. It was a TV thing I didn't end up getting, and it doesn't matter anyway. But it's like, I will send them a tape where I actually swear in my, and so I did it. I know I swore. I have the video to prove it. And this lady came up to me after. She's like, I like that you worked clean because everybody else was so filthy. I'm like, I didn't. Like, but I think it's just because I swore, like, conversationally. I'd be like, yeah. So I woke up the other night and like, I was so fucking tired, or like, I did this and some shit. But what I was talking about was still, my daughter, or how I used to be a sub, or like stuff where I wasn't talking about anything vulgar. And I think that's a lot of the times where people talk about wanting somebody to work clean. I think that's what they mean, unless you're doing TV or radio, and then there's very specific rules about what they mean when they say work clean.
Right.
But yeah, like, if sometimes people just want a break from hearing somebody talk about their dick for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Or just whipping it out and showing them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, not for nothing, man, but I gotta be honest, like, a lot of these guys that are getting busted they're fucking weird looking dudes, man. Like, Louis C.K. he's funny, but I mean, you look at him, you're like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, people don't typically get into comedy because they were so handsome and cool as a kid. Like, it's not like, I'm so attractive and well loved. What am I going to do? I know. I will beg strangers for attention.
It's a defense mechanism usually.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly good looking comedians, but if you look at us as a whole, it's a lot of sixes. Probably. Oh my God.
But sixes in real life are tens in Walmart. I learned about that.
Yeah. A guy I just did a show with, I'm going to look his name up so I don't get it wrong. Mike Merkovich has a joke where the punchline is six is he's going to open a bar called Sixes or Better, or Sixes and Under, I think. So that you could go to the bar and not worry about, like, being intimidated by all the beautiful people.
Right, that's awesome.
It's a really funny bit. If you have a chance to see, he's I think he was just touring, but he's in New York City. If anybody listening to this has a chance to see Mike Merkovich, he's very funny and nice.
So what now, what's next for you now? Like, what are you? You said you're a working comedian. Is that all you're doing now? Like, you're not.
It is not all I'm doing, but it is currently my primary
career.
Awesome. Mostly because of the album, honestly, which was very surprising. Like I said, my initial intention for the hour was, well, I'll just make a thing that I can send to colleges to get shows, and then I can stop telling these substitute teaching jokes.
Right.
But it did kind of well, like not crazy well, but the fact that it makes any money on any kind of regular basis still astounds me. And it worked out because in doing mine, I kind of figured out how to do it and like how to get an album on Billboard and like how to get it distributed widely and have it be available everywhere. So friends of mine were talking about also recording albums. My friend Tyler Rothrock was asking me a bunch of questions because he was thinking about putting an album out. I'm like, you're my friend. I've known you for a long time. I will sit here and answer any question you have. I will help you in any way I can. Just to be nice, but also I know you pretty well, and a lot of the stuff that you have to do, I don't think you're going to want. Like, it's a lot of filling out forms and spreadsheets and stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't think you want to do that. If you let me put it out on this label I basically accidentally created, then you can just focus on the show and like getting ready with the set and everything. And that's what he agreed to. So last month I put his album out. Because when Billboard emailed me, one of the things they wanted to verify was the name of the record label, which when I was filling out one of the forms you fill out to distribute it online, there was a field for record label name, and it said there's a note on it that said if you don't have one, you can leave it blank, you can put your own name, or you can make something up. I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to make something up for sure. So I named it Circus Trapeze Records because your wife hates this, especially if I remember correctly, but I wanted to name my child Circus because I think since I have a dumb last name, just really lean into it. And I've talked about it for years, and no one ever thinks it's a good idea, especially my wife. But I still love it. So I'm like, well, I'll name something Circus. So I put it down as a joke, and then when it hit Billboard, Billboard ran that chart, and it says, Glen Tickle, yes, really, Circus Trapeze Records. And I was like, oh, I guess that's a thing now that I did.
Awesome.
Yeah, because it's at that point, it would have cost me basically nothing to put out a second album, but I didn't have another hour to record. So I was like, oh, well, Tyler, we'll just record yours. We'll put it out through the same channels I did. And his hit Billboard as well when it came out. He hit number 8. And the best thing about that is since I produced the album, I don't have to be jealous that he did better than me. Because he did better than me because of me. And
right,
I can,
exactly.
You
can take credit. You should. That's he's actually I knew that name when I messaged you to come on the podcast. We spoke about that. He's actually I'm in Nazareth. He's in Nazareth, PA. I knew I recognized that name. I'm in Nazareth as well.
Yeah.
So he probably doesn't live.
The name of his album is Tyler of Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice. So he could be the second. Is that? I guess that's a play on Jesus of Nazareth, or is that just? Am I just being sacrilegious?
No, that's the joke. And the cover art is like a cartoon version of The Last Supper with him, and then it's instead of the apostles, it's references to all the jokes on the album.
That's really good.
It looks really cool. And I had nothing to do with it. I think I originally told him not to call his album that because it sounded dumb, but then it kind of warmed up to it. Right. No, but the album cover looks really great, and I think his mom or somebody was upset because they said that he was making fun of Jesus.
Oh man, I like to think Jesus would have a sense of humor myself, but that's just me.
It's I don't know. I mean, people are uptight about stuff, but
everything.
That album cover, it's very nice. And
that's clever. I always think he'd have kind of like the freaking attitude of like that dude from Big Lebowski, just like, you know. That's just me. I mean, that's how I like my Jesus. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think you would be upset about an album cover, or at least not this one.
Right.
I'm sure there's probably an album cover somewhere that he'd be mad about.
Yeah, like with Tupac was on the hanging from the cross. That's probably, not sure he'd be that cool about that.
Yeah, like, no, that's my thing. Like, that's, you can't just
yeah. You don't see me wearing a bandana backwards.
Stop copying me, Tupac.
Yeah. Oh man. So you got these 2 albums coming out. Are you going to put another album out or?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
I did a more of a one-man show thing at the Scranton Fringe Festival that I will be recording at some point. I just have to figure out the best way to do it, because there's visual elements to it. So I would want to do video, but I have experience doing audio albums now, and I'm sure I could figure out how to incorporate video. I have a film degree, so like I'm not.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But
there you go. Yesterday, actually,
it's also more expensive to do it that way,
right. But I mean, the visual stuff is it's a good idea. It's where it's at too. Actually, I was talking to a guy. I don't know if you're familiar with a guy named Casey Jost.
No.
You ever watch Impractical Jokers?
I know of it.
Yeah. Well, he's a comedian, but he works kind of behind the scenes. His brother Colin is on Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. Right. So he's going to be an episode actually right after you. That takes a lot more editing because of this long story. But anyway, he was telling me about, like, he did the same thing. He got a degree in music, and he's been using that with his comedy and stuff, and he's trying to do just, you know, the whole gamut, visual stuff, comedy, music, and it's I mean, it's ambitious, but it sounds like a great deal of work.
Yeah, and a friend of mine just reached out about having me produce a music album for him.
Right.
And I have no idea how to even start trying to do that. One of the things I did in this show was I play Eternal Flame by the Bangles on the violin.
Right.
So I was like looking up how to like license a song, because comedy albums are way easier to produce than the music. Like, it's typically it's one person standing in one spot talking into one microphone. So there's not a lot of production that goes into it. There's some, but then to do music, and like, you got to record it in a studio probably, and he wanted to do all cover songs too. I'm like, I don't think I can help you.
That's difficult. But I know a couple guys involved in music, went to school and stuff, and they've worked with some pretty one person in particular has worked with some pretty well-known rappers and stuff, like producing music, and he's a member of ASCAP and all that stuff. So if you have questions and stuff like that, I could definitely put you in touch with him. He knows all about that stuff, because he answered a lot of questions for me as far as like music for the podcast and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah, it's just more involved, and I know, like, because a big part of when I was doing the album was like, I wanted to do it well, because I had control over that stuff. Like, I only have so much control over whether or not an audience likes the set that I was planning on recording.
Right.
But, I could make sure that I had everything registered where it should be registered, and that the packaging looked nice, and like anything I could do to make it look, not like I don't want to say make it look like a real album, because is, but
Right.
To make it not, I didn't want it to look cheap and like just put together
hokey.
Yeah, like I'm very proud of the album in terms of like how the show went and the jokes and everything, but also like I'm pretty proud of just the physical CD. Like I did the design work for it. I hired an artist. The CD itself has a drawing of my daughter's toy robot that I use on stage sometimes, Mr. Tabado. But the photo I used on the cover of it, I took and I put I put it all together myself, and I'm very proud of the work I did in that beyond just the jokes and stuff.
So now where can people see you now? You mentioned at every third Thursday of the month you're doing Nerd Night at Steel Stacks.
Yes.
What else do you have going on where people can go? They want to see the legendary Glen Tickle live and in person.
If they are in Tiffin, Ohio, I'm doing a show January 20th at the Ritz Theater. That one I'm very excited about. And New Year's Eve, I'm hosting at the Mohegan Sun in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I forget who else is on there, but I was just talking to somebody about it last night because comedy shows on New Year's are pretty common, and typically comedians are working on New Year's. But you don't want to be the guy on stage at midnight typically, because it like just suddenly grinds everything to a halt. And then like when it's done, you're like, what do I do? Do I tell more jokes? Do I just go home now? Like, what do I do?
Right.
So they asked me to host, which I don't do much of anymore, because I'm bad at it.
Really?
Like when I tell people that I don't want to host a show, sometimes I think they think it's because I think I'm above doing it or something. It's just the host of the show typically has to bring a certain level of energy to like keep everybody aware and into the show that I can only fake for so long. Like if anybody's listened to me talk this long, like this is the same level I'm at all the time. On stage, like I don't want to jump and scream. I don't want to ask if anybody's celebrating their birthday or whatever.
Right.
I just want to stand in one spot and tell jokes and be largely left alone.
I mean, listen, man, you're good at it. So,
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I think I might come in and check out that Nerd Night. I don't know if I'm a closet nerd, man, myself. It's all Star Wars comic books.
Yeah, I was looking at your wall behind you here on Skype.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I like sports and stuff. Are you a Star Wars guy?
Yeah.
Did you see the new one or no?
I did.
Okay. Before we wrap this up, I gotta know, because I tweeted something out. I woke up, I took my little guy to see it. I woke up the next morning, I tweeted something out, and my tweet blew up. I said, "Did you like it?" Because I loved it.
I loved it.
I'm seeing people kill it. I don't understand that.
It's weird because I've seen people complain about it for different reasons, and some of the reasons make sense to me. Like some people don't like that a lot of the good guys are multicultural and that Leia's leading the resistance now, which doesn't make sense to me as a person, but I understand how if you're a racist, then right. Your objection makes sense. I disagree with it, but I understand it.
Should I say spoiler alert here? Are you gonna?
No.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying about that too. And I mean, listen, there's as evidenced by the election, we got a lot of racists in this country. Yeah.
The thing I understand the least is the people who liked Rogue One, but not this one.
Yeah, I loved Rogue One too.
I'm in the minority on that.
Really?
Yeah, but
I got to be honest with you. I love them. I love them all. I mean, some more than others, but I even like the prequels. Here's my thing on it, man. Like, my youngest is 6. I take him to all the superhero movies, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I just love them. They're just fun, man. Like I don't watch Star Wars to sit there and be like, oh, look, compare it to Citizen Kane. You know what I mean? But like, it's just fun, and there's not many things that are just good, clean fun that you could take your youngest, your oldest, anybody to. You know what I mean? Well,
that's what I didn't like about Rogue One, is that it was not fun at all.
Yeah, it was a downer.
There was no like joy to it. It was just, and you know exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
This one we can say spoilers for, but I think it's pretty obvious. You know exactly what's going to happen because you know they get the plans for the Death Star because they have them in a movie you've already seen. Right. And that's not to say like prequels can't work and you can't tell that story in an interesting way. I just don't think they did. Plus, you also know the big ending because none of those characters are in other Star Wars movies. Like, like, oh, are they gonna get off that planet? Was Jyn Erso in Episode 4? No. Like, it's pretty obvious how this is gonna go.
The Darth Vader scene in that one was nasty, though.
The what?
The Darth Vader scene in Rogue One.
I was about to complain about that next. Man. He gets the best moment in the movie with that, but he's the bad guy. Like, I forget who it was, but they compared it to the movie Glory, the Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington Civil War movie, where so you're following this group of Civil War soldiers who are put together on a mission that is supposed to fail. No one expects these guys to pull off anything. And then they get there and they have this huge battle and they pull it off. They don't all make it, but they do what they set out to do. So imagine if you, in the middle of that battle, some super huge badass rebel soldier shows up and just starts gunning people down and everyone's cheering for the bad guy. Like, it doesn't fit with the rest of that movie.
Right, I get it.
Like, people who are fans of Star Wars, you just like watching a Star Wars character do a cool thing. And, yes, that was a very well put together scene of Darth Vader mowing people down. But, it doesn't make sense in the context of that movie on its own that he's even in it. Let alone he gets, the money shot of tearing people apart.
Okay, well,
but I understand also that I'm in the minority of not liking that movie, and no one else seems to agree with me that Darth Vader should not have been in it.
I gotta disagree with you there too, but
I get that a lot.
But you liked the last movie, so did I. A lot of fans didn't. Critics loved it, so who knows? Everybody have to make their own decision. It's a great movie, and I can't wait for the next episode.
People can like or not like whatever they want, but I don't understand. So just I don't want to complain about the specific thing that I've seen people say, because that one is kind of spoilery.
Right.
But I don't know if they're wrong. It's great.
All right. Well,
I'm actually going to go see it again later today because I'm taking my nephews.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see it again because I went opening night and I went at 8 o'clock and my little guy fell asleep at the end, and he's so mad that he didn't get to see like what happened with Luke and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So I don't know if that's a spoiler, but whatever.
You can say a thing happened to one of the main characters of a movie. You didn't say what happens. You just said a thing.
I didn't say that. They revealed him to really be Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler. Oh.
I always complain. Although I get upset when people expect the entire world to go out of its way to protect them from a spoiler. That always drives me.
Yeah.
It's not my job to keep information from you.
Right.
But I'm not a monster, so there's like a grace period. Yeah. So if it's a movie, I would say you have opening weekend. Like, people shouldn't be ruining stuff. But after that, like, if it means that much to you that you're going to get upset if you find out a thing that happened, then
you would have watched it.
You need to make it a priority in your life to go see it. And if you don't, then that's your fault, not mine. I mean, I don't go like blindly shouting movie plot points places, but like, I'm happy to tell people that Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Sose. He's a lot
more than that.
Yeah. That movie came out decades ago. If you've not seen The Usual Suspects, then you have led your life in such a way that you've avoided a movie for 30 years, so you have no claim.
And now you're mad
to get upset that someone told you what happened. You've had literally decades on it.
Shit.
It's a pretty good movie, even though Kevin Spacey sucks now.
Yeah, which sucks because he was my favorite actor.
Yeah, I mean,
he was my favorite. Really,
one thing, still be a bad person.
That's true.
Like, as we're finding out in waves now.
Yeah, I still, man, like, I feel guilty, like you. And then he tried to pull the old Jim McGreevy, like, oh, I'm a gay American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You also kind of touched some little kid, dude.
Yeah, that's not cool. That's not a good reason, my guy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you, you're officially my favorite comedian now. So I'm just. Please, I hope I never find out anything. You're not drugging people or exposing yourself.
No,
I don't know.
When all this started happening, I sit around now and think, like, what's the thing that could come out about me that would be worse?
I do that too. I actually had to call my wife the one day. I'm like, hey, just like, I know I wasn't always like the best guy and stuff. I said, but I never like, right? Like, I never sexually assaulted anybody, right? And she's like, not that I know of. I was like, oh, okay. Just like, when I was pursuing you, like, I didn't sexually assault you, right? Just want to be clear.
Yeah, you don't want to like.
So that's good.
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff that everyone's done that they're not particularly proud of, but like, I don't think I've done any weird crimes that I'm unaware of. Like,
yep.
There's stuff that I did where it's like, oh yeah, I should not have done that, just because it's embarrassing, and like, it's embarrassing for me, and like might have made somebody feel uncomfortable at how stupid I was being, but I wasn't like drugging anybody. Or
that's so bad.
Anybody didn't want to get touched. Like
that Hannibal Buress
that want to get touched. That you just put the work in and find a person who wants you to touch them.
Exactly.
Because then it's nice for everybody.
Exactly. That's good words to live by.
Yeah, don't be a weird creep.
That's right. See, you're getting, not only are you entertained and you're learning about stand-up comedy, and people listening to this learning how to make a comedy album, they're also getting life lessons from you.
Yeah.
You're a giver.
Buddy.
So you're going to have Tyler Rothrock come on the podcast one day. You gonna tell him to?
Yeah, I will. Right. As the representative for his record label, I will make him do it. I'm sure he'd be happy to come on anyway. Comedians love any opportunity we get to talk about ourselves.
That's awesome. I actually had an idea for a comedy show. I was trying to think. I wanted to do a comedy show that wasn't funny, and therefore that is the actual joke.
There's a lot of those. I don't think they're necessarily on purpose not funny.
But see, like there's two sides. What is that? The double entendre or whatever. Mm-hmm. It maybe it's purposely done. Maybe I'm just awful. But that's the whole thing that makes it funny, is the fact that it's not funny. Very highbrow.
Yeah, there's. Kyle Mooney does a lot of that stuff on Saturday Night Live with varying degrees of success.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live's hit or miss a lot. Did you watch it last night with Kevin Hart?
No, I was at a show at Steel Stacks actually.
Oh, that's right.
Night.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah, I watched it today on YouTube. It was all right. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll probably watch. I hardly ever watch it the night of.
It's hard for parents. It's on too late.
Yeah, well, I mean, I purposely stay up late just because then if I'm doing a show somewhere at night, I don't want to be sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'd rather, I would much rather just fast forward through the musical guests. Is a big reason that I would rather watch it next day.
Foo Fighters was on too, though. They were awesome.
Yeah, I will probably happily watch the Foo Fighters performance on Saturday. It's usually people that I'm not a big music guy to begin with.
Right.
It's usually people I've never heard of or care about.
Well, when you do watch the they did a medley of Everlong, and then
I saw a headline about that.
Went into some Christmas songs, and then they finished up with the Charlie Brown Christmas theme. It was awesome. It was one of the better things I've seen musically in a long time. It was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch that tonight, actually, because I'm taking my nephews to Star Wars later, and I got to go do some family stuff in a little bit.
Nice.
I'll get to.
So everybody can check you out on New Year's Eve up in Wilkes-Barre at Mohegan Sun, and Nerd Night every third Thursday at Steel Stacks.
Yep. And every Thursday at 8 at Steel Stacks, there's a comedy show of some kind going on.
Okay.
I don't remember the schedule, but it's like the first Thursday is this show, the second Thursday is this other one. I know the third is mine, but a lot of my friends are doing a lot of fun and interesting stuff there as well.
Well, if you're in the Lehigh Valley area, Hunterdon County area, check out Steel Stacks on Thursdays if you're looking for some comedy. And if it's the third Thursday, you'll see Nerd Night with Glen Tickle. Yeah,
you can come see Ben Youngerman, my nemesis who I was talking about earlier, is giving a Nerd Night talk.
Oh, nice.
This month. He works as a mascot for like sports teams and stuff.
That's awesome.
He's going to talk about that. Yeah, he works for like the Phantoms.
Oh, nice.
And, the Iron Pigs and stuff. So he's going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a series of murders that happened in the Philippines because people would sing Frank Sinatra's "My Way" at karaoke, but they would do a bad job and get killed.
Gotta keep it light.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about that because it's such a weird. I heard about it and it seemed like one of those things where it's just a weird urban legend. Like, this is obviously not true, but it is. But it's also it's questionable. Like, how true it is. Like, is that the only reason these people got killed? But it is an objective fact that these people who got killed all did "My Way" badly at karaoke. And it's...
Oh, good thing they never met my grandma, because my grandma used to sing that song all the time, and she wasn't much of a singer. But
I've been practicing it on violin because I'm going to play it. I can't sing very well. I'm like, singing publicly is my biggest fear. Like, I will stand in front of a crowd of any size and tell them jokes and not think twice about it. Mm-hmm. But the idea of getting up and singing in front of people is terrifying. But I will get up and play the violin bad for people. That I don't mind doing.
There you have it. That's well, I mean, you are now officially going to be my my longest episode, and it was awesome. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Man.
Does that mean I'm talking to you?
No. I feel bad. I felt like I took a bunch of your time, man, but it was really awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely tell, I think Tyler followed me on Twitter and vice versa. So tell him I'll be in touch. I think that, it'll probably be up. This episode will probably be up in a couple of days. So I'll make sure I let you know. And it's going to be on iTunes and all that stuff. So
for sure. Yeah. I'll let people know. I'll talk to him and Jason Brown. He's the next album my label's putting out next month. I think January 5th, his album comes out. It's called Jokes Through the Bathroom Door. And
what is it called? I'm sorry, what?
Jokes Through the Bathroom Door.
Huh. Interesting.
It's very good. I think we also recorded at Steel Stacks. think people would like.
Awesome. So January 5th, Jason Brown's album comes out, and I'll make sure that both of them, man, definitely please come on and, come on again, man. This was fun.
Yeah, anytime.
And I'm gonna check out on Nerd Night. When is the next Nerd Night?
Thursday, December 21st at 8 o'clock.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try to make that one.
It'll be fun. Jason's doing a set, and he's going to talk about joke writing. I believe his plan is he's going to write a joke on stage from like start to finish.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. Awesome. I can't wait. So, once again, everybody, this is Glen Tickle. Glen, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for checking out another episode of Another Mediocre Podcast. If you like what you hear, you can subscribe on iTunes or check us out on Spreaker.com. You can also check out accordingtoloublog.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.